indeed. We're here. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
How's
Hi.
everybody doing? Hi.
Doing wonderful. Just doing great.
Well, hi there. How's everyone doing today?
Let's see, what's this? Let's roast some pigs. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a little bit confused. Sorry.
Pigs, like I kind of hate that cops are called pigs, honestly, because pigs are actually really cool, nice creatures.
Intelligent. I mean, like they're pretty cool animals. You know, like they're like a nuisance animal that's actually so effective we really don't know what to do with them.
Yep. Yeah, earlier on I was kind of like looking at the chat before we started and somebody said like my burgers will arrive during the show.
And they will.
And I was like, fuck, man, I wish I knew what kind of burgers this person was getting. I want to live vicariously through this person and want to know what kind of burgers are coming.
Hopefully it's like something good though. If it's like McDonald's, then it's like, it's all right. I mean, are they gonna make a burger? Because like to me, like I'd rather make a burger than anything, to be honest with you. Like I definitely like there's places I like like Five Guys or like Whataburger or whatever. Like there's places I definitely like to get it from, but it doesn't compare if I make the burger. Because
True.
I'm a snob when it comes to like burger making, dude. I want to have everything perfect. I want to press my burger just right. If I want to add something into it, like, I feel like a blue cheeseburger today. I'll fucking throw that in the mix. Like, there's just so many things you can do if you're making it personally. And I know, Paul, you make a mean burger too yourself. I mean, you're no slouch.
Yeah. I'm no slouch when it comes to the burgers. But yeah, my mom definitely like instilled that kind of like whatever you want kind of thing. Because when she makes burgers, like I think the burgers are the least amount of effort that she puts into it. Like she has like this whole spread of cheeses and different lettuces and tomatoes and onions and just like everything you could possibly, blue cheese dressing and the whole nine. So you make sure you get exactly the style of burger that you want.
I mean, you grew up one of the best places for that. I mean, you guys, so much of the produce in America is grown, right where you live. So you guys are getting the best tomatoes and lettuce and all that shit too.
True.
See, down in Louisiana, boy, was like, there's some vegetables fell off this truck. Here you go. And it's like, now let's take the meat. I'll take the meat and the cheese. I'll take everything processed, nothing fresh. Like, I don't know. Like, we have a couple of things that grow down here. Like, we have good strawberries and shit, But for the most part,
strawberries.
But I mean, you guys got that too, so we don't got nothing on you. I guess sugar cane. You want some sugar cane, Paul? You can get that.
No, I don't want any sugar cane.
All right, fair enough.
I pulled a couple of little news stories just to kind of wet our whistle before we jump into the show.
Just wet our whistles.
Just wet our whistles a little bit before we start off in this show. This is I didn't really see this coming. I don't know why. Maybe I should have. But yeah, the Uvalde survivors have gotten together, like all the parents and the kids that survived this and teachers and school staff and stuff, and they've all collectively gotten together under a class action lawsuit, and they're seeking $27 billion for like just the neglectful response of law enforcement.
Have you ever seen like the videos that have come out since then where it's like literally cops like, what are we doing? There's like videos of them like they're talking to like, what are we doing, man? Like, what are we waiting for? And they're just like, there's just total confusion from like the lowliest grunt in the police department to guess the very top.
Well, I mean, like in my mind, the lowly grunts are supposed to be confused. That's why there's a command structure, right? Like,
right.
The commanders are really like the people that were in charge are the ones that really foot the bill here. I mean, yes, were the cops ineffective and stupid overall? Yes, but like once again, there's a whole command structure. Like the grunts, they don't do anything unless they're told. And so really the orders didn't come down that were correct to save more people in this situation and to end this with a more satisfactory kind of like outcome.
Oh, well, you're 100% right. Because like, it's like the who, what, when, where, why, how, all that stuff. It's like if you're in any like sort of like codified power structure like this, like the military or police, like why is never really a factor unless you're at the very top of it. That's the why. Like you're right. It's like why is not that really shouldn't be what you're asking. It's like it's more like what are the orders? What are we supposed to do? I guess we got a man. You did the same time. You got you Cali motherfuckers too. I'm actually technically from California. I didn't really live there very long, but I've lived there before. But I'm not I don't know if I die on the Whataburger hill, but I think that's a shame to say Whataburger sucks. Like
Whataburger doesn't suck. It's a tough thing. Like being a Cali boy, like I definitely love In-N-Out Burger as well. They've got the double is just a classic.
Oh yeah,
nice tasting, good burger. But I'm telling you, man, I'm a Cali boy that lived in Texas for close to a couple of years, and I ate a lot of Whataburger while I was there. And it's a horse race in my mind. It's definitely a horse race. There's definitely times where I'm craving a Whataburger and times where I'm craving an In-N-Out. It's usually when I can't get one or the other.
Naturally, yeah. Oh, what's this?
No, TJ, how dare you being on time and professional. Yeah, I know, right? How dare us?
Dude, TJ's kind of late right now. Like whatever TJ's doing in his life, I guarantee he's late.
Yeah, he's doing something that he should have done like a few days ago, at least. Whataburger barbecue chicken sandwich. Yeah, I mean Whataburger, like that's the thing I like about Whataburger is that they have this really diverse menu, whereas In-N-Out Burger doesn't really. In-N-Out Burger is like more of the simplistic kind of thing where it's like they have several different variations on the same burger and fries and shakes, and that's pretty much what they sell. Yeah, I think you can get maybe a chicken sandwich over there every once in a while, but most of the time it's burgers and fries. That's all you get over there.
That is true.
Whataburger has like this huge long ass menu, 10 different styles of burgers and all these options you can add. And then, chicken burgers and veggie burgers, and you got fries, or, you can get different like sides over there. But like everything you get at a Whataburger is good. That's so rare. Dude. Like it's, to me, that's why I love Whataburger. It's because
the chicken tenders, even the chicken, because even though I'm a 35-year-old man child when it comes to that, dude, like I love chicken tenders, and I'll get them there, and they're good. A lot of places that's just an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, we got chicken tenders for kids or something. It's like, they have
chicken tenders are I mean, like if you're lucky if you can find a place where the chicken tenders are on point and nothing else. So like to have a one-stop shop. That's Whataburger for me.
I'm actually surprised by this person's comment because based on their name, 3D Cow, but maybe that's why chicken sandwich is the best sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, I like a good chicken sandwich too, but I'm telling you, dude, chicken sandwiches can be horrible.
Yeah.
If the chicken is overcooked and stringy and tough and shit, or just not prepared properly.
Grilled chicken sandwiches. I'm sorry, like I know they're way healthier and shit, but oh my god, are they usually just nasty as fuck at a fast food place?
Yep.
It's like you don't want to do it.
So anyway, hopefully Uvalde people get the 20 because they deserve it. I don't know how I've always wondered how they arrive at these numbers. Like, how do they decide 27 billion is what this was worth? I don't know.
I think from a legal standpoint, it's probably a shock and awe number. I think it's the amount of people affected, the gross incompetence. I mean,
there's definitely like a schedule that they use to decide. They're going like, okay, this negligence was worth this much money. The amount of people involved is worth, you tack on this much money. Blah 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 blah.
I mean, it's gotta be what, hundreds of kids involved. I mean, thousands of like include their families, like thousands of people. Involved in this whole thing. So I mean, I'm not surprised.
But yeah, hopefully they get every penny because they deserve it. This made me so mad when I read it because I just feel like this is what I spend like an entire election cycle preaching, and everybody calls me a fucking tanky or an idiot for not voting or an idiot for not, for advocating against the lesser of two evils candidate or whatever.
Right.
This type of thought, like this quote right here, I thought he was better than that. Rail workers, activists protest Biden's move to avoid rail strike. Why did you think he was better than that? Why? Because he's spent a long fucking career busting out unions. He spent a long fucking career raiding the treasury and taking fucking Social Security from people. He spent a long fucking career on the other side of the economic spectrum. What made you like this? I hate when this starts happening. People are all gung-ho and like, yeah, we gotta beat Trump. Anybody but Trump. Yeah, fucking Biden's the lesser of two evils. He at least, you hear, at least he'll be friendly to unions. You know what I mean? And then when the time comes for him to make good on any of these promises that supposedly made him the lesser evil, this is how people react. Instead of like, wow, I shouldn't have voted for this fucker. It's like, man, I thought he was better than that.
The only actual candidate that I know for a fact would have actually been a friend to unions was Bernie Sanders, and he had no chance. So Joe Biden, no. Joe Biden is crassly manipulating people in unions. He has no actual intention of backing them up. And the first chance he had to back them up, what does he do? Oh, whoops. Sorry, guys. I had to sell you up the river, you know, because here's the thing. If Biden was really like, you really gung ho for this proposal, like, or like, even if like, you know, I have some agreement. Oh, they're not going to get, well, look, I won't sign a bill unless you give the people 7 days.
Right.
You know, like, because they can't override his veto, right? Or they are like put it on Congress. Oh, Congress basically doesn't care about these workers.
Yeah, you know how that's going to shake out in the end.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to get that. I don't think that they're probably going to be able to get the requisite number to override a veto. I don't think they have those numbers for that. But I mean, like for a majority, definitely. They could definitely get a majority of people. But of course, Biden is not on that team. You know, oh, it breaks my heart. Oh, it breaks my heart to fuck these workers over. God, I just feel so bad. Well, fuck them. Anyways, where's that bill? Yep, sounds good. And you know what it is? It's so funny because it's just another example of corporate America wagging the fucking government. It's the tail that wags the dog. It's like they can't do shit for you. Universal health care, sorry, Paul. New infrastructure shit that's like actually going to be like beneficial to you. Sorry, we have a big giveaway to corporations. 4-year college paid for. No, I can't do that. Oh, giant corporations' interests are at risk. Okay, suddenly Congress is like this efficient machine that's like, okay, yep, the Senate's going to take it up. Okay, we're going to pass it. Oh, the economy's protected. It's like, no.
Well, you remember we covered it, I think, in the last Onion Nuggets. Like, I think that one was for patrons. But yeah, no, we were talking about how like Biden's front face on this was like, this is going to endanger the water supply. You know what I mean? Like that was his first concern. His first concern was that chemicals needed to treat local water supplies are, you know,
risk.
Under risk. But really what this is about is your speech is interfering with corporations' ability to smoothly make money and to smoothly capitalize. And so your speech doesn't matter. Got a big fatty boom batty donation.
No,
right here.
I remember SNDN made a promise to give us $500. I think they actually did they give it was called a down payment. And SNDN, you are a person of your word. I'd like to thank you. I actually never expected you to actually come through with it. I'll be honest, because I do remember them saying this, like, hey, you know, I'll do this. And look, you know, I was wrong. I was fucking wrong.
Yeah, hey, there it is, you know. Yeah, and it was TJ's decision to do the furry episode. And so, yeah, hey, payment promised, payment delivered. Thank you, SMDN, for your long support.
Yeah,
in a strange twist, the Class 1 railroad shareholders are threatening a revolt unless they give workers more time off. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But I have a feeling that there's probably a legal mechanism by which that can be overridden as well. I would imagine that would either be dug out of the fucking old dustbin, some like 1880s law about impeding a railway thing or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, passed when the robber barons were actually. Oh, I mean, I guess we still have robber barons, but the actual railroad robber barons were in power.
Yeah, Jay Gould and all those guys that owned every business and they owned all the shipping. You know what I mean? No, what could be the problem with that?
No problem. Having a total monopoly does not definitely concentrate price power with a few people.
So yeah, this is just like, you know, I don't mean to be salty about it, but this is why I know this is coming every fucking time. And when I start seeing these like quotes from people and I start hearing this kind of generally like, man, I really thought Biden was going to do better on this, or I thought Biden was going to at least come through on that. And it's just like, you spent so much energy shitting on people like me that were like, Biden's going to fuck you. Biden's going to fuck you pretty much just as hard as fucking Trump is going to fuck you when it comes to what, like your real power in a capitalistic economy, which is
maybe more
your pocketbook. You know, and your right to peaceably assemble and your right to fucking collectively bargain, like all those things are on the fucking chopping block with Trump and Biden, you know, and I got shouted down for it. And then later on, you don't get an introspective, like, man, I'm not voting for another fucking Democrat as long as I live. This is bullshit. It's like, oh man, I thought this one was better than that. It's just like, oh, fuck off, man. You're just never gonna learn. You're just gonna. You like a kid that just keeps touching the stove, getting burned.
Ow!
And then mom and dad go like, you shouldn't touch the stove. It's hot. It'll burn you every time. And you know, next day your fucking hand's right there on the stove again. I just don't know what to do with you. One last, just kind of a doomery news peek, I guess.
Let's be doomery.
This is scary. The reason I pulled this is because I don't know how to qualify with a lot of people because it's based a lot on my memories. So as a kid, my family traveled all over, California because California is a big sportsman's place. It's
a very diverse state too, as far as its geography is concerned.
Well, it's literally got every type of biome that exists on the planet. So rainforests, valleys, grasslands, prairies, mountains, high deserts, low deserts.
It's got sequoias, the redwoods. Yeah, I mean, you got like an amazing diversity of just life, and it's just teeming with it in California. So I mean, like when you were a kid, Paul, it's not like, hey, where do we go on vacation? Like, we gotta go to Disney World or some shit. It's like, oh, we have Disneyland, or we can just go anywhere in this beautiful state. You know what I mean?
So I traveled around. I've traveled around California a lot as a kid and as an adult, and it is it is so fucking frightening when I drive past these reservoirs that I have clear memories of being a kid. 80s and 90s, so not that fucking long ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? I remember driving through, this is Lake Oroville. I've driven over Lake Oroville a bunch of fucking times.
Okay.
And I remember you can see the water line. This stripe up here is where the high water mark is. And it was there for a long enough time to carve a huge. So when I was a kid, I would drive by and this lake would only be just a few feet off this bridge. Now this is a suicide bridge. But when I was a kid, you could probably live jumping into this lake from that bridge. Wow. It's shocking, dude. Absolutely fucking shocking to drive through these areas and to see these water levels. Like, it's a puddle. A puddle is left.
You guys are in what's considered a mega drought. And I mean, as someone who lives in California, like, this supposed to be I know like climate change is going to affect all the continent of the United States, obviously, pretty harshly. But like, this has got to be a terrifying thing because this is like now. This is even like, man, Paul, in 20 years, look how the reservoirs are going to be. It's like, that's now. So it's like, that leads you to think like, what's going to happen in 20 years, actually? Like, that's where my head is, like, what's going to happen? All this shit is just gone. You know what I mean? Like, what happens when it's gone? Like, isn't this like life can't be sustained in this part of the country for this many people anymore? Is that the reality?
Yeah. I mean, this one here is just saying like these reservoirs are going to meet 5% of demand next year. California, like, especially its biggest areas, heavily reliant on these mountainous reservoirs, these huge lakes, man-made. A lot of them are man-made dam lake. This is a dam lake. So, it's like these man-made lakes that held just a huge abundance of fresh water. And now they're sucked dry, basically. And there's a big question mark hanging over, like, how are we going to deliver water to LA next year? Like, how are we going to make sure that every time somebody turns on their faucet, which is an expectation in this country, you walk over to your faucet, you turn it on, and water comes out. You don't really know where it came from or how it got there, and you don't care. And we're on the verge of that not being possible in huge swaths of California.
I think a lot of people in California, at least like what I've heard, are like talking about things like where we got to do desalination, but it's extremely expensive. It's insanely expensive. You have to build these
energy intensive. Yeah. There's a couple of desalination plants in California. I've seen one.
San Diego, I've heard, actually has the best water infrastructure in California because they've actually planned plants like that and stuff. Like, like they've been like planning ahead, but for the most part, like, doesn't exist. And that, even if that's true, like, think about this, Paul. It's like that can deliver, like, maybe coastal California, that could help them. But like, what about further inland?
If you when you go into the LA basin in California, coming from the south, coming from the south, you go into the LA basin, you drive up over this mountainous pass. It's called the Grapevine. Right. And there are these huge water pipes that go up and over the Grapevine right near you. You can't miss them when you drive over it. This is to transfer water over thousands and thousands of miles from these mountainous basins like this one here to the LA area just to feed the sewers and the water consumption needs and everything else.
Yeah, like I know the Colorado River actually feeds part of California, like a significant. Yeah, I mean, so like we're talking about thousands of miles you have to fucking go, and it's like almost it seems to me it's like California has basically been living on borrowed time without a climate that's predictable with enough rainfall and enough snowpack, which obviously with the planet heating up that reduces the amount of snowpack you're going to have in a lot of these areas. It just doesn't seem viable. It just doesn't what's the path forward? Like I know people are saying shit like, oh, just transfer water from the Mississippi to California. And it's like that you then have that point have a water sharing agreement with like 15 states. Or
right.
Like,
and
it's like, come on.
Drought is already hitting those areas as well. So those areas are already on the fucking clock, and they know that those rivers are not going to be as full in 20 years, No. So they're going to be how like ready are those municipalities going to be to go like, oh yeah, California takes 75% of our water. We don't need it. No fucking way, bro. It's going to be a nightmare. There's going to be a mass exodus from California areas just due to people not being able to. It's just not sustainable to live there anymore. It would take us fucking 30, 40, 50 years to build the type of infrastructure that you're talking about. Now, if we were in a different country, like China is very efficient at this type of shit. China would probably already have that shit built. You know what I mean? I'm not saying good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm not defending the Chinese government. I'm just talking about from a perspective of like, let's avert this crisis in a giant area of China. They already would have had the infrastructure that you're talking about built, bought, paid for, done. But in America, because you're dealing with 18 different landowners, or 80, like it would be way more than 18, 90,000 different landowners and 80,000 different contractors and the constant rebidding and bullshit, it takes fucking forever for any big infrastructure to get built in this country anymore. And so you'd be waiting 30, 40 years, even if like the states along the Mississippi were like, sure. Yeah, go ahead and create a big reservoir for California, divert a bunch of the Mississippi's water, and pipeline it into California. Even if those areas were willing to do that, it would take fucking 50 years for it to get here. And there's just not that much time. We missed a couple of super chats. I'm gonna read them.
Oh, okay, let's go.
So these are from back before, but Biden was the 5th presidential election I was involved in. Paul, I think he meant I have learned. Strengthen my union brothers and sisters. Yes. SEIU Local 99. Cool. I'm glad that at least somebody has learned. The railroads should be nationalized. The 4 rail companies that own the majority of it are crap. Yes. I mean, this is like there's so many of these infrastructural issues in this country that should be nationalized. Like, I believe that the internet should be nationalized. Quite honestly. Like, I don't think that there should be these stupid fucking competing internet delivery services that, because they're a functional monopoly in the areas that they exist, they don't have to fucking provide any kind of customer service or anything. It should just be a standardized fucking thing. Like,
dude, in most markets, it's bullshit. Like, they'll have like 2 companies usually. Because and the only reason they have the other company is because they realize like, oh, if we have one company, they'll call it a monopoly. So in America, it's like there's 2 companies to provide you internet. Like, no, unless you're lucky enough to live in a place with municipal internet, which there are some cities that exist. Usually very difficult to set up because these aforementioned companies do everything in their power to fight those. They don't want people having access to cheap, affordable internet. They want you paying a bunch of fucking money. They want you on the line for the rest of your fucking life. Like, you want these services, you better fucking be ready to pay through the fucking nose to us.
Yep. So yeah, I think those are the 3 stories that I pulled. So I guess we can move on to the meat of the episode, unless you've got something else you want to say on that.
No. Just be prepared to be terrified about your climate in the future.
I mean, it's just like I can't like ding the alarm bell enough on that shit.
Ding, 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 ding,
and
ding,
people are still gonna act like they got caught with their pants down. And where did all this come from? That's still gonna be the mass kind of feeling amongst people, even though the writing's on the fucking wall.
Dude, I think that we're gonna have, and I'll share this in a second. I think honestly, dude, these younger generations are gonna fucking hate the fucking shit out of these older ones. So they're like, what?
Well, I mean, just like we like look at how much animosity our generation had against the boomers. You know what I mean? I mean that's just built in. And the reason is it's not even really the generation's fault. It's the fucking government's fault. It's the government and their collusion with national and international corporate interest that has drained the coffers of the average fucking American over the last 50, 60, 70 years. But yeah, they're definitely going to look back at us and fucking hate our dumb fucking asses for sure.
I'm just saying, like, the climate, the fucking economy favoring just the wealthiest, 0.1 to 1%. I mean, like, all the shit. It's like, dude, millennials have been through some crazy economic shit. Like, we had a recession. We had a pandemic. We had all these other things. And it was like, people are getting richer. People are doing better. It's like, well, their wealth was either borrowed money, basically stolen from taxpayers with like these ridiculous schemes like the PPP program, where it's like, this is to help small businesses. And it's like, most small businesses are like, great. Then you find out a bunch of big companies are taking like $10 million. It's like, wait a minute, what?
Right.
And then, of course, that's forgiven. But then we try to forgive student debt, and that's like, oh my God, that's non-starter. So yeah, I mean, it's just the economic challenges. So I don't know. I think they'll have a lot of animosity. I mean, I know that's generational because of just the differences in generations, but I think just the state of the world itself is going to feed a lot of that fire.
Yeah, I think you're correct on that.
So yeah, we say, hey, the police don't make the laws, but they're sworn to uphold them, right? Unless they want to break them. Because, sometimes you just got to look, rules got to be broken. They got to be bent. And who else to bend them but the people that are paid to enforce them? The police.
I mean, there's like a whole genre of movies based on that principle that like a good crime fighter's got to bend the rules. You know what I mean? Like Batman, that's basically the whole point of his character. Is like the police aren't able to deal with the crime because they're just so bound by bureaucracy. So I'm become the Batman, and I'm judge, jury, and executioner. Basically, I dispense justice at a much more rapid rate. And the philosophical argument between those two types of thinking is really what is at the heart of the Batman, and so many other, like the Batman is just based on old detective serials. It's like a film noir kind of thing that cops got to break the fucking law, man, to get it done.
It's like another example of a character like that is Judge Dredd, dude. Which I think most people, if you think it's not the idea of like I'm judge, jury, and executioner, like, oh my God. For some reason, people love that character. It's like it's really this weird cognitive dissonance, because I've honestly thought about that. I'm like, there's a guy that shows up, he observes what he considers to be a crime or is considered a crime, and then just can do whatever he wants to. He can like blow your head off, doesn't matter. He can detain you, he can throw you in prison. And most people would probably think that's like if we see that now, if like we see people just if a cop executes somebody in the street, most people are not like, well, good on the cop. Maybe there's some like bootlickers like, oh, it's great. But most people are like, wait a minute, shouldn't there be a process or something? Even if the process is bullshit, we want the kangaroo court. We want the sort of like justification for what happened.
Yeah.
So this here is, and this is like, dude, what's crazy about this episode is cops go to the wrong house all the fucking time. Like, because I like found no shortage of these news stories for the last 10 years. I mean, since there's been like a YouTube in existence, there's about 20 fucking million of these stories where cops just show up at the wrong house and break down your door. And this one has a twist too, because this one's actually really interesting. The person they did it to, we'll see, it's kind of close to law enforcement, you would say.
Oh yeah, you didn't share the audio, unfortunately.
Oh no. Yep, I sure didn't.
I blame the 11 terms of Reagan, as the meme goes. Yeah.
Boom.
For sure.
All right, let's restart this. Sorry, guys. You know how it goes.
It was a total nightmare for this family when cops burst into their home, which turned out to be the wrong address. And get this, the outraged homeowner is a retired police officer.
Damn. What a bunch of dopes.
I mean, they're so fucking dumb. This guy's a former cop, but he's, for some reason, I guess, harboring a fugitive or something, whatever the fucking bullshit justification is.
Yeah. a lot, like the reason I brought up Batman and stuff is that's a lot of the justification that you hear from like bootlickers and shit is that like, sometimes, it just takes a man who's willing to go that extra mile or whatever. This is what happens. Like, imagine if Batman was constantly kicking down the wrong door and gaffling up the wrong people. Like, what a bunch of dumb fucking dupes.
Yeah, you're the Joker. No, I'm not. Oh, Batman, please. Oh.
Yeah. Stop with the ruse, Joker. I know it's you.
Nice try. But it just shows you, like, you can even be a retired cop. That will not prevent your door from being kicked in if they think there's a good reason.
To me, it was terrifying.
Luis Rodriguez tells Inside Edition he, his wife, and 2 kids were home in Houston when he heard deputies bang on the door and yell out they were looking for somebody named Curtis Rogers.
And there's no Curtis Rogers that lives in this house. Sir, you have the wrong house. You can open the door, but it couldn't get open for me. Up to the time when they were coming through the door, I still wasn't sure that these guys were police officers. I don't think you should open it.
So,
wait a minute. A retired police officer is saying he was terrified and he wasn't sure if they actually were cops. Someone that probably did this before to other people.
You can almost guarantee.
I mean, so it just shows you like how insane the state of policing is in America, where people who are actually been in that profession and are retired from it are like, this is insane.
suddenly, this happens.
We're just for coming in.
The deputies smash the door open using a battering ram.
You got the wrong house.
Chaos follows as Rodriguez and his son are ordered outside. Rodriguez says he was left with a bruise on his arm. What could have happened if this went completely wrong?
I was afraid that they might discharge a firearm inside of my house and possibly, injure or kill someone.
Oh yeah, they would have no problem doing that either, as we've seen them do time and time again.
I mean, yeah, that's I mean, isn't that what happened in one of those recent kind of, they shot up the wrong fucking apartment?
Yeah. There's
trying
so
to
many
remember
her
it's
name.
sad
Yeah.
because I can't remember what her name was.
Yeah, so many. So yeah, well, I mean, yeah, in this country, dude, well, so many people have been brutally murdered by the police without justification.
Yeah.
To make matters worse, the incident took place on the day his daughter Raquel was celebrating her quinceañera, or 15th birthday.
I thought somebody was trying to break into our house.
This exclusive
Correct,
video.
Breonna
I mean,
Taylor.
they were. Somebody was trying to break into your house.
I told you at the door there was no
Yeah, Breonna Taylor. Yeah.
doesn't work like that. Everybody, everywhere we go, says he ain't here.
In a
Yeah. Oh, so the police justification right there. Well, criminals always say that. That's what the criminal always says. It's like, why don't you make sure at the right fucking house?
Yeah, that's why there's a whole like system of innocent until proven guilty, you big dumb thumb of a fucking dumbass. And Jesus Christ, man. Come on.
I don't know, dude.
Get your
Statement
fucking
by sheriff's-
paperwork in order.
I don't know how they can't figure out like there's like numbers on the sides of houses and mailboxes and stuff, and like when you're doing this paperwork, you should assume that like, is this the right place? Okay, yeah, it is. But for some reason, these guys just can't fucking figure this shit out.
office says deputies realized they made a mistake, and the sheriff's office arranged to have the door replaced.
Oh,
The
okay.
sheriff's
Well, that no harm, no foul then.
Yeah.
Yeah, no harm. Oh, you guys are going to replace the door? Oh, okay. Well, that's fine then. Fuck you.
The
Like,
state
the
duct's
door is the
broken.
thing. Yeah, how are you going to replace our right to fucking live our lives without worrying about unreasonable search and seizure like this? How about you work on that? Don't worry so much about the door you busted down, because you can fix that pretty easily. How about you tackle the problem of our police being a gang of fucking thugs? How about that?
Yeah. No. Sorry. About that issue, there's nothing we can do. Or there's no problem. Or there are a couple bad apples. I don't know. Take your pick.
Regrets the mistake, and the incident is under review.
All
we
right.
haven't done anything wrong. We just was the last thing a family expects to happen to them in their own home. You got the wrong house. There's no Curtis Rogers.
The house police were looking for was actually across the street.
Like the end, it's like it was just across the street.
Toops. What a bunch of fucking idiots. They went to the wrong address.
We
Oh
need
my-
the that Benny Hill music. You know what I mean? That's
Oh,
like these
yeah.
cops, these fucking idiots don't know shit. How about it happening again? Families scared after police served warrants 3 times on the wrong house.
Look at them, dude. They look like villains from an 80s action movie trying to break into your house in the middle of the night. What is this?
And you know what's crazy, Paul? Is they show up in the middle of the night dressed like a bunch of fucking thugs and stormtroopers and shit. Like they're about to do a fucking special ops fucking mission. And then when you don't immediately comply, you're like, what's going on? It's like, we'll come in the house. We'll break your door down. It's like, dude, if someone came to your house, whether you were a cop or not, whoever the fuck you were, and said they're going to fucking break your door down and kill you or assault you or like, we're coming in no matter what. Unless you're insane, you're going to be scared shitless. What the fuck is this? Someone says this. If it wasn't a former cop, they wouldn't have to replace the door. If it's found to be an unlawful or unreasonable search, then usually they do have to pay for it. But that's only because they made a mistake. If it's a legitimate search warrant, like signed off by a judge, and they kick in your door and destroy your house,
it's $200. It's nothing. It's zero money to fix a door like that. It'd be a couple $100 maximum to just have the fucking people come out and replace the door. So it's not like they're draining their fucking, internal coffers fixing a door or two.
Fuck no.
The point should be that they should eliminate to the maximum extent the possibility of this ever happening again. Because it's not just the door that gets damaged. Like that poor girl, dude. It was her 15th birthday party, and the cops kicked down the door at it for no reason. Because they don't know how to handle they don't know how streets work. Apparently they don't know how to read house numbers and write down house numbers right. Yeah, the way these cops look now, dude, is something that bothers the fuck out. They like that one in the background literally looks like Boba Fett standing there.
Yeah.
And this other dude looks like he's the member of some kind of fucking 80s action movie, like the Scorpion Society or some shit that some evil fucking billionaire made. And that he's one of the foot soldiers of that. And these people are showing up dressed like this in the middle of the night, screaming at you to fucking open your door or else. You know what I mean? It's like, what do we come to?
If we could change the background of this video and make it look like the Middle East or some war zone and said, this is like ISIS showing up, people would believe it, dude. I've literally seen videos like this about like terrorist organizations. So, I mean, I don't know how you're any different. If you have no legitimate reason to be there and it's not for public safety and there's not to protect someone's life or the lives of others, like the level of force you're about to see here. And we said, this has happened 3 times on the wrong house. Like one,
the idea that these no-knock warrants and stuff, I really only think that the police should be kicking down the door of a house where they believe somebody's an imminent threat of being killed, or there's imminent threat to bodily harm going on in that house. Then you can kick. But like these types of warrants where they've got like a drug warrant on somebody or whatever the fuck, like why can't you just surveil that person? Like, just surveil that person until they come out of the house and take them in a way less destructive and disruptive way. Pull them over, put the fucking cuffs on them, and call it a day. You know what I mean? Why do you have to do these middle of the night surprise motherfucker kind of fucking weird ass shit?
You know why? This is the big swinging dick. This is what cops want. They want people to be afraid in their own homes. And it's like, you know what? You think that you have these rights, but we can just poof, make up a reason and kick your door in. And you know what's going to happen to us? Nothing. Even if we're wrong. If we're right, definitely nothing's going to happen to us. If we're wrong, sorry. Have a nice day.
Frightening morning. Their Nest doorbell camera captured video of police at the front door of their Catonsville home.
I was terrified. I could not believe. It almost felt like a dream. It almost felt like I was watching a movie of this occurring.
You have an arrest warrant for who?
Open the door. Come through your door.
January.
So just listen to that. Who is the arrest warrant for? Open your door or we're coming through your door.
Yeah, we don't have to provide any information or access to the warrant. We're here to kick your fucking door down.
February 29th. Tense moments as Lori's husband, Mike, asked questions. The couple felt the interaction turned aggressive and threatening.
All right, 1 second.
Yeah, and look at them. I mean, 2 of like pretty much the most non-threatening look. Yeah, looks like a couple of fucking terrorists.
Look at these hardened criminals here, man.
Oh man, It's a good thing that a black family didn't move into this fucking house. Let's just put it that way.
They'd probably be dead, honestly.
Probably.
And threatening.
All right, 1 second. Sir, who is the arrest warrant for?
Open the door. I'm gonna come through your door.
Did you get confirmation?
They called 911, but say they still could not get verification. Officers were at the door.
Terrified for my safety and then also just for my wife and my son's safety.
After opening the door, Mike Lovis learned the officers were part of a joint task force looking for a suspect, someone who doesn't live at their house. This was one of 3 police visits that started in December 2020, a month after the couple purchased their home. In February of last year, a state trooper came by, and then in January of this year, the task force.
So unluckily for them, what it sounds like is that there used to be a suspect for a crime used to live in their home, and then they purchased it, and that dude no longer lives there, and these cops are operating on fucking 10-year-old information or whatever the fuck, and it's the last known address of a fucking felon or whatever the fuck.
I mean, yeah, it's basically a fishing expedition, because I'll tell you what, this actually not like I'm gonna come into your house thing happened to me. But I remember, like, it's like I lived in a house in Mandeville, and like it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I hear like dump, 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 and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I get up, and I'm like bleary eyed, and I look out the people, and I can't see anybody, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I was thinking about grabbing a gun, but I was like, well, I better ask who the fuck it is. I'm like, who is it? And they're like, say, tell the sheriff's probably open the door. And I'm like, all right, I guess I better open the fucking door. Because, like, I mean, like, I live in America. I know, like, if I don't open the door, like, it's not going to end well for me. So I open the door, and they're like, does this person live there? And it was like some woman who lived there before, who I guess got in trouble with the law a bunch, because she actually, like, it sent a bunch of notices, like, from courts and shit to her house. I guess that was her last known address. And I'm like, no, she doesn't live here. Like, I think she used to live here, but she no longer lives here. And they're like, oh, all right, well, have a good night. But it's like, imagine if I had like been at all resistant to that, or if I was like, fuck off, I don't have to let you in my house. Fuck off, I don't have to answer your questions. We know exactly what happened to me. They would have kicked my fucking door in. They searched around, and they didn't find anybody. They'd be like, oh, well, I guess, okay, I guess you were right. Right, there's no one here. You're gonna replace my door? Yeah, whatever. Send a bill to the parish or something. Bye.
Dude, I had a weird one happen in fucking Louisiana when I lived there too. Me and Amelia were sitting there watching. We were literally watching Jeopardy and eating dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the cop knock. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, what the fuck? I look through my peephole, and there's 2 deputies standing there. I'm like, oh, fuck. What the fuck is going on here? I open it, and they're like, yeah, we got a report of a woman screaming for help, possibly in this apartment. And I was like, what?
No.
I was like, we're eating dinner, man, and watching Jeopardy. He's like, did you hear anything like that? And I was like, no, and I didn't hear anybody screaming for their life or anything, for sure. And they made like Amelia stand there so they could see her, and that was it. They was, all right, well, have a good night. Like, okay.
Yeah, did he beat you or something? It's like, no. Like, we're just eating dinner. Sorry,
I mean, they could smell it in the air. Like, I remember, like, when I opened the door, like, the cops reacted to that. Like, one of them said something about it, like, oh, it sounds like you got a dinner going on in there. I was like, yeah, we just cooked dinner.
Yeah, it just
smells good. Yeah, we heard a woman screaming. It's like, what? No. And it's funny too, because like, I had heard, like, when you live in an apartment complex, you're gonna hear some crazy shit.
Oh yeah.
And I had definitely like heard those, not screaming for their life, but people like having a really elevated thing and shit breaking and whatever. I'd heard that type of shit before, but I heard literally nothing that night. It was very strange.
Man, well, that's America for you.
Records that show at one time prior to the couple's purchase, the suspect may have lived at the home. Earlier this week, 11 News showed how police kept visiting another woman's home in Northwest Baltimore, also looking for a suspect she says does not live there.
Just more lazy ass police, like, last known address. Let's knock on that door.
Yeah.
Police tell us they are not trying to scare families. They are executing warrants and looking for dangerous people. But now, another Maryland family doesn't want to experience this again and is very upset with the response from an officer about what to do.
Like, what can we do to make sure that this does not happen again. And he said, you can move.
What the fuck?
Yeah, you buy the house. You can move out of this house, but anytime this guy gets in trouble or we think he could be here, we're just gonna come threaten and kick your door in. That's it.
I thought that was just completely and utterly unacceptable. We had done nothing wrong.
Now, we contacted Maryland State Police and Baltimore County Police to find out what agencies actually came to the home and what families should do if they ever find themselves in a similar situation. We're still waiting for a response from both agencies.
What can we do?
Keep
Basically
on
nothing.
waiting, bud. I'm sure immediately you're gonna get somebody looking into this and making fundamental change.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly. The police have the reason they're not going to get back to you and they have no answers because there is nothing you can do. You have a bunch of lazy ass cops. This guy's obviously has a long rap sheet. Anytime they think they can make an easy arrest, they're just going to try to fucking go to your house and make it. They don't actually give a fuck about, like, they obviously have no active knowledge of that person being there. They did no actual police work. They didn't knock on a door like, that's really what they could have done. Hi, does this person live here? No. Okay, thank you. And then if they really are skeptical, like, I think they're lying, they can sit outside of the house and see if that person ever leaves. But unless they actually have some actual surveillance or intelligence, that person's in that house. What's the basis of the determination to go and serve a warrant to a house you don't know where someone's at? And why would they even issue you a warrant to begin with, unless you had probable cause? It makes no fucking sense. It just seems like the police are just fishing for an easy arrest.
Right.
Let's see. Now this one is insane, dude. Cops tell ex-boyfriend he can break into house and react when woman pulls gun. So the police tell this guy he can literally break into this house to get his stuff back. I don't know what else to say about that. let's take a look.
You have a right to kick the door.
Window, then. I'm sorry.
You can mule kick it. Oh, okay, whatever.
I gotta do it.
You have a right to kick the
How do I
door.
protect you from?
What? Wait a minute. You have a right to kick the door down. Like, no. I mean, if it's your house, is that what he's arguing? Like, I guess, like, oh, if it's your house, you can kick the door in. But, like, I don't think it's a good idea to kick a door in. Like, especially if you're having a confrontation with somebody. I mean, shouldn't the police just, like, say, like, shouldn't you be the person that's, like, de-escalating and knocking the door and saying, like, I'm a police officer. This guy wants his stuff back. We'll watch him. Let him get his stuff, you know, and then they'll make sure everything's good. Like, isn't that what you should be doing? Not saying you can mule kick the door in. What? Okay. So, like the cop in this situation is basically escalates the situation the entire way.
Her with a gun. How do I protect you from her making accusations because I'm not climbing through that window behind you. I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'll go through a door with you, but I will not climb through a busted window. I'm not going to cut myself. I'm not going to injure myself.
I needed to get my air conditioner.
I understand that, but this is completely like.
So you told her we're gonna bust something and she's okay with it?
Oh, she's not okay with it. She says that you don't live here, that you don't have to, but I already know that you do live here.
You okay?
What the fucking idiot, dude.
I would have used.
I can't believe there's a cop just standing here as this guy is like and advising him legally to break down a fucking door. And then when he doesn't want to do it, it's like, I'll break out a window. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to climb in after you, but if you go unlock the door for me.
That guy, there's nothing around there. Like that, he broke that shit with his hand.
Yeah.
Dude, have you watched too many fucking action movies or what? That's crazy what he just did. Like, you don't break a fucking window with your hand.
Yeah, get a rock or something. Shit. You know, don't fucking use your goddamn hand. Like, it's not like fucking movie glass. It's gonna fucking cut the shit out of you.
A brick or something, personally.
Yeah, even the dumbass fucking cop. He said he got a brick.
Well, listen to this fucking flatfoot, bro. he's playing this like it's a video game or some shit. Like, it's the craziest thing.
You must enter home. Ask officer dumbass for advice. Maybe not use hand. Use rock to break into house. All right. Thank you, Officer Dumbass.
I didn't mean to break it.
Shit.
No, see, now you're in trouble.
Okay.
Now you're in trouble. No, you're in trouble.
So looks like she pointed a gun outside. But
Yeah,
I mean,
a big old barrel came out that window too. That was not a tiny gun. That was a big one of them. That was a big rifle that came pointing out that fucking window.
But of course now,
shit.
you know, she pointed a gun at, or at least is threatening a cop with a gun in some way. I don't know how much she's actually aware of this cop being here or what she's thinking. If I knew the cop was there and they did this, I more than likely would probably not have pulled the gun because that's just justification to kill you immediately, even if it's not actually in like legal to do it. They don't care.
Yeah.
So so basically this guy breaks the window on the advice of a police officer. She responds like, I'm going to protect my home, puts a gun out. Now, of course, it's going to completely escalate from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, put the gun down! Put it down! Back off. Get out of there. You better come. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. You better come to the door.
Lay on the ground.
Yeah, look at this situation that you've created.
Yeah, this cop completely instigated this.
Yep. This is just like by design, the cops have showed up and instigated this fucking huge incident now. This is just ridiculous to me.
The door now. I got James with me. It's not. It's a deadbolt key. You gotta take the whole thing out. Take the whole door out. The whole bottom out.
These fucking idiots don't even know how to fucking make an entry.
I know.
Kicking holes in the door and shit. I mean, this is just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
What's happened here. This is a simple dispute between fucking, people. Either they're breaking up or there's like a lodger agreement that has gone sour or whatever the fuck. This is like a simple fucking dispute that could have easily been de-escalated by these cops, and instead they just escalated it at every point. Oh yeah, go mule kick the door. Oh yeah, go break the window. I'm not coming with you though if you go through the window, but hey, you have every right to do it. Just like, what a fucking bunch of maroons.
We're the Second Amendment advocates during times like this. They're fine if you own a gun, but most of those people actually don't give a shit. And honestly, anytime someone tried to pull a gun or has a gun near these police, for the most part, they're either going to be killed immediately, and it's like, you should never do that. So it's basically like, honestly, it's like a bullshit right, if we're just being honest. Like, the only time the police actually are afraid of citizens with guns is when there's a bunch of people marching through a street where it's like, oh shit, they got a bunch of guns and we can't just corral them into one area and we're afraid that might try to kill us. But when police feel like they have the upper hand, they don't there's some cops I've definitely seen have respect for the Second Amendment kind of shit, but a lot of them I don't think really do. I mean, they might LARP and pretend like they do, but they don't they're terrified of being killed by citizens with guns.
Yep.
And that's obviously but it's so crazy because under most legal doctrines, you think like your home is like your castle, right? It's like you can protect your house, whatever force is being used. And if someone's trying to break into your house, I'm going to break the glass and you've got a gun, you would think like, okay, that's justifiable. Obviously, unless you're shooting them.
That's what you have a home defense gun for, in my opinion, is like somebody's trying to get into your house and do possibly do harm to you. And you've got the gun there to defend yourself against that eventuality. So,
and of course the tyrannical government, right? But then it's like, oh, you guys try to do that? Oh,
well, they provoke these kinds of look at how when we were talking earlier in that earlier video, how those cops are dressed like fucking Scorpio assassins or whatever the fuck. Like, dude, that how is that not instigating this type of behavior too? Like a bunch of dudes in the middle of the night wake you up by pounding on your door. You look out your peephole and you don't see cops. You see a bunch of dudes in military gear wearing balaclavas.
Sir, who's the warrant for? You have the door coming through, motherfucker. Okay.
If you've got a gun, you'd be like I said, this seems like one of those situations in which self-defense would be implied, but it just escalates because the cops now are going to shoot you.
Yep.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands now! Hands out to your side! Do it now! Hands out to the side! Behind your back now!
Don't hurt me! Don't hurt me!
Then do what I told you to do!
Okay.
Put your hand on your back! Do it now!
I am!
Do it!
So yeah,
this woman is clearly attempting to comply. She's screaming, "Don't hurt me! Don't hurt me!" And listen to the escalation continue.
Yeah.
What's your left hand?
He's literally like chimp screaming at her.
Move it like that. Okay. All right, roll to your stomach. Roll to your. Calm down. Ow, my foot's broken, please. All right, ma'am, settle down. Calm down. Relax.
Why don't you take your own fucking advice? Why don't you settle down? None of this need to happen. Not one thing of this happened. We did not see any video of these cops going like, your ex-boyfriend wants to get some stuff from your house. Will you allow that as long as like we make sure he doesn't hurt you or anything? Or like, can we arrange something? Can we arrange like a way to exchange the stuff? Maybe you go to the police station. Like, can there be something? It's like, you don't do shit like this. And then the audacity after they arrest her fucking at gunpoint. Oh, settle down. No, settle down now. You settle the fucking down.
Calm down.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, yeah, that's just like an example of the opposite of what a police officer that they should use that in training and go like, this whole incident is the opposite of what you should do as a cop. Everything about this is the opposite. It's opposite day in this video.
And by the way, she was actually criminally charged with a bunch of this stuff. But of course, charges dropped in case in which police advised man to break into home. Yeah, I'm sure after they fucking saw the footage of that brilliant shit. Criminal charges. Oh, good.
I was just going to say, I hope that this story includes the officers involved being immediately terminated. Like all officers on the scene immediately terminated as they lack the decision-making skills to be a proper fucking officer of the law.
Oh, right. I mean, I agree with you there, but I don't think that's the outcome. Criminal charges have been dismissed against the woman accused of menacing a police officer. An incident that occurred after police advised her boyfriend to break into her home. Catherine Bonner was scheduled to be tried Friday before the state Supreme Court Justice Charles Sciano Jr., who earlier dismissed a criminal weapons charge against Bonner after ruling that a search that led to the discovery of a rifle in her home was illegal. Well, yeah, of course. Bonner was also accused of menacing a police officer, and prosecutors had intended to rely on a video from body cam, a worn camera. That's usually not how they say, write it. That showed her sticking what appeared to be a rifle out the window. We saw that. However, the indictment against Bonner claimed that she used a, quote, deadly weapon to threaten police. Under the law, prosecutors would have to prove that Bonner had wielded a loaded weapon. But because Sciano ruled that the rifle would not be used as evidence, prosecutors would likely could not prove that Bonner was holding a loaded rifle in the video clip. And of course, they agreed Friday, or at the time this was Friday, to dismiss the charge of menacing.
See, the thing is like there's no mention in there of she wasn't menacing the cop with it. She pointed that gun at the dude that was trying to crawl through her window, who was not a cop, who the cops were instructing to make entry to the house however he wanted. Like that, how does that not come into play? It's not like she fucking meant to point that fucking gun at the cops that were just standing there. She was pointing it at the dude that was crawling through her fucking window.
So yeah, Paul, I know you were hoping for some actual like, oh shit, like we're actually going to reform this. In March of this year, the city police department issued a policy bulletin telling officers that when responding to a civil domestic incident, when one party is locked out of a home, they will, quote, will not advise citizens that they have a right to break in to the residence or that police members will stand by while he or she does.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like that's not already part of the rules.
Good job. The police won't tell you to commit crimes, which is honestly, let's be honest, like that's the real issue here. If there was not a video of a cop telling them to do this, it might have gone, totally different. Luckily for her, officer dumbass told her to do what he did, her ex-boyfriend to do what he did. And luckily she wasn't killed. And of course, the charges were dismissed, which happens in a lot of these cases. If you actually follow these along, very rarely does anything happen to the cop, but generally they don't go anywhere or results in a massive lawsuit against the police department. So you're basically paying this person to go retire on an island.
Yeah.
And, the police get a paid vacation. So I guess everyone wins in that respect, as long as no one's killed. So, they tell you this a lot, Paul. Just comply. If you just comply, that's all you need to do. You're like, look, you might still go to jail, whatever's going to happen. But a lot of these people, if they'd only complied and listened to the police, there'd have been no problems. No trouble at all. So suspect complies and surrenders. And police beat him anyway.
What the fuck?
Yeah, hey, you know what? You do what you can do. Okay, so a lot of these stories that some were years ago. This is, I guess, 3 days ago. Okay, oh, here you go. It might be an older video though. I gotta give you guys audio. It's in full screen for you guys.
So yeah, he's put his hands up.
Oh,
choppy.
Looks like it's not playing. Here, let's close some of these other tabs. So, because we remember these happened this the other day.
Yeah.
So let's close some of these up. See if that helps. No. Okay, let's try refreshing this.
Video, please.
Please, video. I'm begging you. I'm begging you, video.
Yeah, maybe Reddit just pulled this or some shit.
I don't know. I usually don't have problems with it, but you know how it is. It's like that video's loading slow is the issue.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll let that, let's see if this one is giving us the same issue. And we'll come back to the other one. Cop resigns after tackling an 11-year-old at school. You gotta teach him early, Paul. Look, if you gotta
I think I've seen this video before. This is once again just ridiculous opposite day where the cop takes, like, this is a defiant child, basically. He tells the kid you can't leave campus, and the kid just walks out anyway. And the cop thought, well, now the next thing I got to do is hard tackle this kid like we're playing football and cuff them up. And it's just like, what? How do we get from A to B here?
I don't know. Seems like these Reddit videos. All right,
yeah, these Reddit videos are not. They're not happy.
All right, this one, I said, like, trying to load these other ones. Yeah, it's loading very slowly, so maybe we'll come back to them. This one is on YouTube, so I know this one will probably play fine. This is a deputy plants drugs during a traffic stop and is caught. This is a pretty famous case. I figured we just show this. So yeah, this woman, obviously you can tell why she's been pulled over. She's driving an older model, shitty looking truck.
Yeah, it's driving a beat up truck.
It's like, hey, you know
Here's
what?
a dupe we can plant some drugs on.
Yep, and unfortunately this guy did it a bunch.
Deputy Westwood Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Reason for my stop is your brake lights. They work 1 minute, and the next minute.
I need a bullshit reason to pull you over real fast, so I think I've done found it. Your brake lights is real fucked up.
Yeah.
They don't work, and then a few seconds later they just flash. Okay, so.
It's probably because of the rain.
Okay, that's fine. You got your driver's license on you, ma'am?
I just got tickets the other day. I'll be glad to show them
did
to you.
No, you're fine. All right, thank you. I'll be right there.
I'm about to fuck you over real hardcore.
Truck may or may not start. When I turn it off, you may have to push me off, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you.
Okay. Do you need to turn it off? Do you have to turn it off?
It'd probably be better.
Okay.
I'm going to hard time with it as it is.
Okay, I'll tell you what. If
Can
we
I
can
answer my phone?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad the police are taking this dangerous woman off the streets. That's all I can say.
Yeah, this woman, she's definitely like fucking public enemy #1 for sure.
So now we get to the search. Let's just go to the. I think it's right about here because this guy's covered it.
Person or property without a warrant. You will never win a Good Citizen Award for relinquishing your rights.
No, you
At
won't.
this point, Deputy Wester went back to his squad car and then returns to the truck to begin searching. Pay close attention to his left hand as he is putting on his gloves. It appears that there is a small plastic bag being held in his left hand.
Yep. So you can see right there, look, he's holding a little baggie right there.
So he's got a little bag of fucking meth or whatever the fuck.
Yep.
And the bag is extremely similar to the.
So we can go ahead. Now he's doing his search.
And he's got that little baggie.
Yep, his little holdout bag. Oh, let's see. La, la, la. And notice when he's finding these drugs, Paul, that his body camera is like tilted in a way where it's like you don't see what he's doing.
Right.
Which is really strange, right? Because like you're searching, it's like the body camera's supposed to capture the action, but it's like, oh, let my body camera tilted right here down at this seat crevice.
Yep. So he's retrieving the little bag of meth or whatever from inside his glove.
Mm-hmm. Now let's go ahead and plant this. Oh, look! I think he's
Sticking it in her purse.
I think I'm about to find something. Could it be?
Well, eureka!
Wonder what we're gonna find today. Does it look just like the little baggie?
All right, I'll see if I can find it for you.
I'm gonna find something else for you. Found a little spoon. Okay. Let's see what else I can find. Oh no!
Wow, a little plastic baggie.
What could it be? Looks like a little meth.
Man, what a fucking scum fuck. And you got to wonder, like, how many people has this happened to? Tens of thousands.
Oh, don't. Well, yeah, in America, yeah, but don't worry. This guy.
Oh, Miss Odom.
It is yogurt, sir.
I know. Okay.
It's yogurt.
How about this, though?
That is not mine. No, sir.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you any
No,
direct,
sir.
I'm not going to ask you any direct questions. I'm going to read you your rights first, okay?
Yeah, I gotta make sure this is legal so I get my guy's conviction of you.
So just hang out with Deputy Heike here. I have an idea. We're going to test it, though, okay?
And the next thing I do is also bullshit. Those roadside tests are notoriously for they're just bullshit. They have tons of false positives. They've proven time and time again to be inaccurate.
They're not being administered in a laboratory environment, which introduces the inclusion of things, and they're not being done by people that are specifically trained in the science of detecting drugs. It's just like cops dumping a liquid on something and going, "Oh, turn pink, you're under arrest." You know what I mean? It just it doesn't mean shit. It's just bullshit. Especially in the hands of some of the stupidest fucking people on the planet.
Oh, I agree with this. She probably does meth. But yeah, exactly. But this time she's innocent. Well, I mean, that's fine. Like, honestly, I don't even think it should be a police issue. If she's addicted to a drug, she should get help in the healthcare system. She does not need to be arrested and fucking tried and thrown to jail.
If this one, like he said, he pulled her over because her brake lights were malfunctioning. That's what we call a fix-it ticket.
Right.
Where the cop determines, like, can you save, like, how far from home are you? Can you safely get the vehicle home and then not drive it until you get that issue fixed? That's all they do is like make sure you get a ticket that says, hey, you got to fix your brake lights. And they go about their way. Like, why this turned into a fucking search and seizure, that alone is wrong. Like, before he even plants a thing, the fact that he's going through this woman's purse with no probable cause is the problem.
Well, which is why a big part of that video is talking about consenting to searches. So I actually do have a little bit of information. So basically here it is. No warrant, no search. The Supreme Court has ruled that the home is entitled to maximum search protection, even if they have probable cause to believe something illegal is going on inside your home. The Fourth Amendment requires police to get a signed search warrant from a judge and legally enter and search. The major exception to the search warrant requirement is where consent is given to an officer's request to enter. For example, an officer is legally invited into your home. Any illegal items that are out in the open or in plain view can be seized as evidence, which can lead to an arrest. That being the case, it is always wise to keep any private items that you don't want others to see out of view of your entrance area. So basically, now vehicles are a little bit different because the Supreme Court has ruled on, there's a bunch of cases on this, that like your car is not an extension of your home. You don't have the same expectation of privacy. They'll say, that's why you'll hear officers say something like, "Oh man, smells like you've been smoking a lot of marijuana in this car," or
I detect the presence of alcohol.
Yeah, there's always some reason, because what they're trying to do is establish probable cause, or they're trying to say there's evidence, like plain view evidence. Obviously, if you have a bag of drugs, they're just going to use that as like, I see drugs right there, and that does happen, of course. Or you're obviously drunk. There's things like that where it's more clear cut, and you shouldn't be driving drunk anyways. No. But in a case like this, there really was no probable cause for a search, especially for the auspice of the search being faulty brake lights. Like Paul said, it's a fix-it ticket. But she consented to the search, making the search itself legal and giving him the ability then to plant these drugs. Whereas if she had refused and said, "I have no reason to let you search my vehicle, I've done nothing wrong, I refuse. Maybe he does it, but then he does it illegally, or at least it can be legally contested.
Right.
But luckily this cop was caught, and he went to trial, and I'll say
got what he deserved. I'm
happy. I'm happy with the
Jackson
results.
County, Florida, for the trial of Zachary Wester. The former sheriff's deputy was charged with 67 counts of racketeering, fabricating evidence, false imprisonment, and possession of controlled substances.
So let that sink in. This guy did this to hundreds of fucking people before he was caught. Hundreds of fucking people that he put potentially in prison for years of their lives. Put them away. Or they were awaiting trial based on him supposedly finding evidence that he fabricated. So when Paul said there's tens of thousands of people in jail or have been fucked this way, he ain't lying. Because one cop did this. Just him. As far as we know, like I'm sure that other people knew he was doing it. I'm not going to say, oh, they were all innocent. But this is just one guy. This is the damage one cop can do. If you just believe even just like one out of every 100 cops would do this. This is the damage one cop can do by breaking the law.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Paul.
Wester's accused of planting drugs in a dozen vehicles during random traffic stops.
That appears to be an illegal narcotic. Do you know anything about that?
These people, they're all just like shocked, genuinely, like, huh?
I mean, yeah, because you can tell, like, if anyone's seen the show Cops or Live PD, I mean, they don't run those shows anymore, but if you actually watch people who are guilty, it's obvious. Is this your drug? No! Oh! Like, there's just a certain body language and micro expressions that people give when they're lying, that unless someone's a really good liar, they're not able to suppress. But these people are telling, like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have drugs? Like, I don't have any fucking drugs.
Drivers denied owning the drugs, but yet most were subsequently arrested. The arrest caused suspicion internally, and in 2018, Wester was suspended. 3 years later, the case went to trial. He pleaded not guilty to all charges.
This is a case about an abuse of an incredible power, about the abuse of the incredible trust that we all put, and we have to put, in law enforcement in a society.
The prosecution relied on the defendant's own body cam footage to help argue their case. Stephen Van.
Man, I tell this guy just is like the magical cop, dude. How many needs to fucking find something? Just like, whoop, oh, a little, like it's like a magic trick. Oh, here's the little baggie. Oh, and there's the conviction.
Oh, look what I found behind your ear. A little bag of meth.
Oh, no, please. That's not mine. I swear it. Oh, that's what they all say. Right this way to jail, sir.
Convicted felon had recently gotten out of jail when Wester supposedly found methamphetamine in his car.
And I mean, and obviously he had a type too. This guy had a type. So like you said, recently convicted, recently got out of jail. And it's like, oh, because this cop knows people are going to buy this shit. Oh, yeah, just got out of the slammer, already doing drugs. Figures, man. Well, take him off the jail. Put him back where he came from.
What an evil fuck.
I know.
Have you ever seen this before? No. What is that? I'm just trying to figure out how that stuff got in your car.
I've already figured it out. You planted it.
Yeah.
You're going to go to jail today for possession of methamphetamine, okay? Oh, man, dude, I'm serious, dude.
What a fucking soulless piece of shit. Like, this dude just got out of the fucking slammer and he just fucking plants evidence. And this guy's like, I mean, you know, maybe he does drugs, maybe he doesn't, but just like, it's just horrible. It's horrible to see someone that's already been fucking put into the system. And then it's like, oh, yeah, you have to go right back. And you know what? After you've already been in, it looks even worse for you. So this guy probably could potentially have already had a trial and been convicted based on this guy just lying and planting evidence. It's just, I don't know how. I mean, like, that's just beyond disgusting.
What you want me to do, man?
Like the other drivers who testified, Van gave the officer permission to search his car.
Don't give the police permission. Don't fucking do it. If there's anything on this episode I can stress to you, at least for my part of it, is don't let the cops search your shit. Just don't do it.
Well, I mean, when they come in the middle of the night with a battering ram, you really don't have much choice, unfortunately. But yeah, in these fucking like traffic stops and shit, never say, "Oh yeah, go ahead and flip my car." I don't care.
Because these people were innocent. Oh, I've got nothing to hide.
Make them get a fucking search warrant. Most of the time, these cops aren't going to go through the fucking rigors of getting a search warrant for that and coming back and searching your car. So just say no. Just say no in those. Unless you live in an area where the cops don't have body cam, then you might want to just let them flip it. Because they might just decide that you had a gun and decide you pulled it on them and shoot you in the fucking head.
I decided you're a criminal. Time to die. Sorry about that.
I knew it was.
While the jury got to watch most of the traffic stops, some recordings had mysteriously disappeared.
What?
Why?
Oh, due to a clerical error, I'm sure.
Here's the recordings. Oh, and now they're gone.
Yep.
Why in the world would those have been deleted?
I wish I knew that answer.
You wish you knew the answer. Oh man, I know you. Let's see. What could the answer be? Okay, the answer. Let's think about this. Mysterious recording deletion syndrome that just affects PCs of people who are
a
guilty.
Virus.
Yeah,
a virus that only targeted those specific relevant videos.
Yeah, or he deleted them. I don't know. Crazy. I'm going with crazy computer virus.
Ironically, body cam footage would become the strongest element in the prosecution's case.
Couldn't delete them all.
When it came to Teresa Odom.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
At first, the officer's polite, even playful.
Anything the vehicle need to be concerned about? Bombs, hand grenades?
Yeah, we just watched this. This is him gaffling this lady up again.
Yeah.
Now, the white small plastic baggie that was in that spoon that the deputy just showed you on this video, had you ever seen that before?
No, sir.
Was that in your car?
No, sir.
Oh, look at this poor old lady, man. She looks like she's probably a grandmother at this point. So
Yeah.
he pulled over somebody's grandma.
Yep.
Who had some prior fucking arrests, probably when she was younger, and tried to plant a bag of meth on her.
Yeah. Let's gaffle up Meemaw today. You know what I mean?
What a piece of fucking
Let's
garbage.
get Granny and throw her in fucking jail. Yeah, it sounds fun.
As far as motive, the prosecution claims the 28-year-old officer was ambitious and wanted to move to narcotics as quickly as possible. Wester testified he never planted any drugs.
The drugs were there. I did not put the narcotics there.
Liar.
Right.
Yeah, so for anybody who asks why cops do this to get their arrest quotas up so the state will increase funding for their precincts, that's just one of the reasons cops do this. Unfortunately, there's a number of motives that would make a cop do this. Maybe the cop just doesn't like a certain race of people and wants to see them fucked with constantly and, uses this as a way. I got another black guy off the fucking street. That happens all the time. They could just be simple sadists. Just people that are just like, I'm out here to fucking damage these people because fuck them. They don't respect me or whatever the fuck. So why would I respect them? I'm just going to find somebody. I'm going to find as many people as I can today and plant meth on them, just to be a fucking like that. Undoubtedly is happening. I somehow think that like this dude is probably that. Like, because if the whole police department was doing this, like if they had like advocated for this to happen, this would never surface, So this guy was off on his own doing this. He didn't care about raising no goddamn quota.
Yeah, I mean the reason they posit with him is like, oh, he was trying to advance in the police department. Like maybe that's true, but I mean, it seems to me more likely this guy just wanted to be the cop that showed up and was like, you know what, you're guilty. Whether you're like, I'm just gonna be a judge, jury, and executioner here. I'm gonna basically show up, and if I think you fit the type of person that I'm looking for, whether you have drugs, like I'll check for a second and see if you got any. And if you don't, you're going to have drugs. It doesn't matter. You're going to have drugs no matter what the fuck if you have drugs or not, I'm finding them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for their precincts, how does this benefit them as an individual? Is this more coordinated by the department? Yes. Sometimes there would like the big police departments in the United States, NYPD is known for this. They will tell people we want more drug busts, and so they use a thing called stop and frisk, which is a very controversial police action used a lot in these big cities, where they'll just like pull up to a person walking down the street and frisk them for drugs. And so yes, the in those big precincts like that, the higher ups are always pushing the patrol people, get those drug arrests up, get those drug arrests up, get to the point where you can imagine it probably pushes a few of them to start planting drugs.
And you think about these budgets for police departments and these first responders, but especially police. It's like the universe. It's ever expanding. So they have to show like, oh, we're making so many arrests, we're doing so much stuff. You gotta either you gotta at the very least keep our budget the same, but ideally raise that budget. They have to spend all of their money. They have to look like they're doing all this fucking shit.
Yeah.
You know, so they ended stop frisk officially, but it happened to me many times in New York City. Yeah, I believe New York City also, another state had some like broken windows, which like basically let's gaffle people up for small crimes, because if you ignore these broken windows, if he's just jaywalking or whatever it is, then bigger crimes will happen. No actual evidence for these theories being effective. Stop and frisk was, I think most studies on it found it to be ineffective and actually damaging to the reputation of the police department, and not actually getting many drugs or guns off the street.
Yeah. In LA, there's one of the big problems with the LAPD is that over the years there has built up this culture of adversarialism when it comes to certain gangs and by necessity certain races of people in certain areas of LA. To the point where it's like gangs in New York. It's like when the LAPD shows up, it's Bill the Butcher at the head of the fucking, you know what I mean? Like, come on, boys, you know,
there's the Black Joes, get them. Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, it's just a gang fight, basically. Like, you fuck with us, we're going to fuck with you kind of mentality that has gone out of control in the culture of the LAPD.
Well, they want them to know. They want them to know that it's basically a way of putting these criminals on notice. It's like, if you think that you're going to interfere with our rackets, you're just going to be killed, and it's going to be legally sanctioned, and no one's going to fucking bat an eye because we're going to say it's gang violence. It's gang violence. Oh, okay. Because the average person hears that, they're thinking a bunch of criminals were doing a bunch of illegal shit, and the good old police rode into town. The sheriff rode into town and said, "You're harassing our citizens. Throw your hands up." Never. Boom, 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 boom. Took care of them. It's like the old West. You know what I mean? It's like, that's how people fucking think of it. It's like the police are the good guys and they went and got the bad guys. And that's end of story.
Days and several witnesses, the jury was asked to render a verdict. If Wester's found guilty on all charges, he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. After 7 hours, the jury returns with its verdict.
In the state of Florida versus Zachary Tyler Wester, we, the jury, find as follows as to the counts charged and the information. Count 1, guilty of racketeering as charged.
Yes.
The clerk went on to read the
Got him.
verdicts on all 67 charges.
Ooh.
Count 7, guilty of official misconduct as charged.
You're fucked,
In
buddy.
total, the crooked officer was found guilty on 19 charges.
Count 9, guilty of official misconduct as charged. Count 10, guilty of official misconduct as charged,
including misconduct in the arrests of Van and Teresa Odom. 11 of the 12 drivers filed civil.
So it's not over yet. So guess what? Taxpayers in Florida are on the hook, of course, for millions of dollars for this guy's conduct. And they're going to win.
He doesn't have millions of dollars to pay off all these civil suits.
Here's a sentence.
Lawsuits against Wester. In July 2021, he was sentenced to 12 and a half years in a state prison.
Oof.
Now, most of those states, like, he's probably actually not going to serve 12 and a half years. He probably will serve closer to like maybe 4 to 6. Yeah, 4 to 6 years. So, I'm like, when people hear that, it's like, oh, he was given. It's like,
unless he's a total fuck up in jail, like unless he really runs up a docket in jail, then his ass will sit there for the whole time and probably more. But yeah, no, if he keeps his head down and does his time, he'll probably be out in 5-6.
Take it out of the. I totally agree. I totally fucking agree.
I mean, that would incentivize everybody to stop doing this shit, especially the older officers that have more fucking clout and shit, because they're literally sticking their hands right in your pocket. You're about to retire.
It's like, fuck that.
Yeah, they would definitely instill the right kind of fucking attitude in the police department.
So I had some more stuff, guys, but those Reddit videos were not working. We've been going a while now, and obviously gotta give Paul his due. Got some paradoxes and shit coming.
Yeah, man. I thought we'd just talk about some crazy paradoxes. I like thinking about stuff like this. But we got to start at the start, as we usually do.
Of course.
And just define the word paradox. So the Merriam-Webster Dictionary.com Paradox is a noun. One, such as a person, situation, or action having seemingly contradictory qualities or phases. Two, a statement that is seemingly contradictory or opposed to common sense and yet is perhaps true. And it goes on from there. We know those really, you know, that pretty much sums it up there. A paradox is something that seems to fly in the face of basic common sense, but oftentimes are true in some ways. I tried to avoid, there's a ton of these.
Oh yeah, there are.
I mean, a billion, like maybe not a billion, but there's like there's thousands and thousands of different paradoxes. I tried to avoid ones that were like heavily math based because I'm not a mathematician type.
Neither am I.
But this first one definitely has some mathematical implications. It's such a head scratcher that you gotta start here, and it's a very basic one. This probably, like most people, if you've heard of a paradox, this is probably one of the ones that you've heard of. This is Achilles and the tortoise.
Okay.
Now wrap your head around this shit. So the great hero Achilles challenges a tortoise to a foot race. Okay.
Right.
And to keep things fair, he agrees to give the tortoise a head start of 500 meters. So he's not going to start running until the tortoise has gone 500 meters. So when the race finally begins, Achilles, unsurprisingly, starts running at a speed way faster than the tortoise, right?
Right.
So by the time he reached, he himself, so by the time that Achilles gets to the 500 meter mark, the tortoise has only walked a further 50 meters. So he's closing in for sure.
Oh, yeah.
On the tortoise. But by the time he's reached the 550 meter mark, the tortoise has walked another 5 meters.
Oh, shit.
By the time Achilles reaches the 555 meter mark, the tortoise has walked another half a meter. Then 0.25 meters, then 0.125 meters, and so on and so on. And so the whole idea of this paradox is that Achilles never catches up with the tortoise. He's always playing catch up with the tortoise. He cannot, and it doesn't make any sense because you think about it. Well, he's running faster than the tortoise.
Yeah.
He's eventually going to take him over. But that doesn't, if you think about it, it doesn't make any sense because there's always a fractional distance that the tortoise has walked while Achilles was catching up to him that Achilles then has to make up. So he can never pass the tortoise.
The fuck, dude? But isn't he going? But if he's going faster than the tortoise, like if he's going at
right, but he gave him the head start. So he's playing catch up. And by the time he gets 500 meters, that tortoise has gone another 50 meters.
But then
and by the time Achilles goes that 50 meters, that tortoise has gone another 25 meters. All the way down to the fucking Planck, you know, like the subatomic particle distance. But he never passes the tortoise. He's always playing catch up. Once the turtle's movement is less than a Planck length, Achilles will win. I mean, how do you know that? A Planck is just the smallest unit of measure that we've discovered on the subatomic scale. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a whole universe of smaller distances that we've yet to codify and discover.
That's a good point. We don't even know.
So yeah, there you go. Achilles can never beat a tortoise that he gives and you can never beat anybody or anything that you give a 500 meter head start to. Now, this is not true, but it logically makes sense. The tortoise is not stopping running while Achilles is catching up. So how does Achilles ever overtake the tortoise? Logically, it doesn't make any sense. It flies in the face of common sense that Achilles will eventually pass up the tortoise, and we know that that is what will happen. But when you actually break down what's going on in the race, it all kind of starts to fall apart. So yeah, that's Achilles and the tortoise. Just one of those kind of like head scratcher things. And I'm sure that there's a mathematical formula that you could probably derive that would, you know, kind of dispel this paradox, but I'm not smart enough to do that.
So it doesn't make sense though, because constant maximum speed is a thing. Well, it's not Achilles' speed. It's that he can never overtake the tortoise. So I know it's like that's what people are thinking is, let's say, guys, this is easy with. It's because you set the tortoise at a point of reference for distance. That's why it fails. If you set a distance reference to the end point, he can pass the tortoise.
Right. So this is actually, I think that's probably true. but it doesn't like it still logically follows that this distance is constantly being covered by Achilles. So I understand what you're saying. The reference point is part of the paradox, but it does. I don't think that invalidates the paradox. It seems logically sound when you read it, even if it's from the wrong perspective, as you say. About this one, this is a time travel paradox. This is a weird one. It's called the bootstrap paradox. It actually is used a lot in movies about time travel.
Okay.
Doctor Who, Bill and Ted is all about this kind of like, well, there are time travel implications that include the bootstrap paradox. So here's how this one goes. Let's say there's a time traveler. He invents a time machine.
Right.
And then he goes to a bookstore and he buys a copy of Hamlet.
Okay.
And he takes it back to the time machine. He travels back in time to Elizabethan times and goes straight to Shakespeare. And hands Shakespeare, who has not written Hamlet yet, a copy of Hamlet. Shakespeare reads it, thinks, oh my God, this is brilliant, decides to copy it word for word and release it under his name.
Okay.
Right? And then time moves forward until the point where eventually a copy of Hamlet ends up back at that same store, and the time traveler comes again, grabs it, takes it back. So if that's the case, who actually wrote Hamlet?
I would assume, this just like from what I've read about time travel, that I think probably the most logical way to look at that is that the timeline basically adjusts for that. Like it's like a self-healing timeline. But I guess you'd have to argue that, I mean, so the thing is that guy gets a copy of Hamlet and he gives it to Shakespeare.
Right.
Then I guess technically
the time traveler wrote it.
Yeah.
But all he did was steal it, and it was previously written by Shakespeare, the target of the time attack.
Oh, yeah, it is difficult.
And so he's handing him his own words, but Shakespeare doesn't. He literally copies the book word for word and releases it. You know, he plagiarizes it. So he's it's one of those things.
But he had to be given it to begin with to plagiarize. Who gave it? So it's like.
But he had to write it in order to be given it.
Oh man.
It's just another one of those things that
fuck, dude.
It is, dude. It's fucking like these things. Like maybe there are some smart people out there that are like, no, absolutely, it's this, that, or the other thing. It's like you can't base a paradox on something impossible.
Well, we have to look at it like we have to look at it. So like, well, within that timeline, like I guess at that point when the loop begins, it's Shakespeare wrote it, right? But originally, if Shakespeare was given the document, then who gave it to him? It's like, I guess you could argue he went to another universe where Shakespeare actually did write it, then brought it into theirs.
Yeah, when you start getting like crossing into multiverse things, my brain starts to cook like a fried egg. You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's too much, too deep. It's just one of those things. It's one of those things that makes my brain like light up because I'm just like, whoa, that doesn't make any sense. To me, these things are little proofs that we live in what, you know, we as human beings seek order, but we live in chaos. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, nothing really makes any sense.
I like this one. Hamlet wrote itself. Fuck. Boom.
Yeah. Hamlet just becomes this kind of divine document that really has no author under those auspices. All right. Maybe. So this one may not be, this next one may not be very woke these days.
Oh shit.
This is the boy girl paradox. This is a weird one. This is also mathematics, but it's pretty basic math to understand what's going on here. And so once again, like I said, this one is not woke. We are not taking into account the existence of, you know, trans people or agender people. We're talking about this just purely for philosophical purposes. Okay. So a family has 2 children, right? Okay. We know that one of those children is a boy.
Okay.
What is the probability that the other child is also a boy? So the obvious answer is to say that the probability is 1 out of 2. I mean, it's either a boy or a girl. So we know one's a boy. What's the probability that the second one is a boy?
Well, with that binary, you'd only have 2 options. So
right,
I
50,
guess
50.
I guess you could argue 50-50. I'm not sure if it would exactly be that, but I mean, I guess the purpose of being like a basic explanation, yeah, 50-50.
Right. Now, once again, that assumes that there's an exact rate of birth between males and females, which there isn't. But it's the differences are minute. They're essentially equal, 50-50 chance, right? So in a 2-child family, however, there are actually 4 possible combinations of children. If you think about it, it's boy, girl, boy, boy, girl, boy. So we're talking about older boy, younger girl, boy, boy, younger girl, older boy, or sorry, older girl, younger boy, or 2 girls.
Okay.
So in this instance, it's 1/3. There's a 1/3 chance because we can eliminate girl, girl. We know one of these children is a boy. So that's the only one we can eliminate. So 1 out of 3. It has to be 1 out of 3.
Okay.
Even though you're talking about a binary that we're setting up.
Right.
That with roughly equal birth rates, you can't go 50. You can't say it's 50-50 because it doesn't fit into the actuality, of a possible family. The boy, we only know one is a boy. We don't know if he's the younger boy or the older boy. So the other one could be it could be boy girl, boy boy, or girl boy.
But it can't be girl girl because we know one is a boy.
Right, but that still leaves 3. It's 1/3 instead of 1/2, even though you're talking about equal probability between a binary. How the fuck does that work? Why is that a fucking thing?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you would figure it's 50-50, but then, when you look at these combination possibilities, it's well, maybe it's because you already know you've already determined one of those things. If you hadn't determined it, then obviously there's way more possibilities.
Sure.
But when you've already determined one, you
would think that 50-50, it's either a girl or a boy. That is a true statement.
Right.
Assuming
stuff,
the total binary.
I of course get that too, because it's either gonna be a boy or it's gonna be a girl under this example. But then obviously if you have 3 different choices, well shit, because it can be boy boy.
Right.
So, but then of course you can think, well, it's gonna be girl. It's but then of course it takes into account the fact they can also be a girl and boy. But I don't know. It's weird. It's one of those things
it's simultaneous. That's why it's a paradox, because it's simultaneously a 50-50 and a 1 out of 3 chance.
Correct.
It's one of those those don't sync up. You can look at this and go oh yeah, okay, it's either boy girl or girl boy or whatever. That's or 2 boys. No, but no, you've got 4 options, 3 of which you have to deal with. So it's just one of those logical. It's a little bit language game and a little bit pointing out a strange mathematical paradox.
It can't be thrown because the firstborn isn't a girl, for fuck's sake.
No, you don't know that. You just know that one of the 2 is a boy.
It doesn't tell you the order. Yes, that's the thing. It doesn't tell you the order is boy.
It doesn't say the eldest is the boy or the youngest is a boy. It just says a pair of parents have 2 children, and you know that one of those children, either the eldest or the youngest, is a boy.
Let's see here. It says then the first and third are the same option. Well, no, it's the order of the pairing too. Is what we're saying here. It can be oldest boy and girl. It can be 2 boys, so older and younger brother.
Right.
It can be an older girl and a younger boy.
So it's definitely has to do with you inserting this idea of this placement of the girl, either younger or older, necessitates 3 choices. It doesn't really mention which one comes first or say that's in the original question, that's not even asked. And so it's just one of those things, in order to actually find this out, you would think you would take a look at what are the possibilities a couple could have in total in a true binary system. And it's just one of those things. It doesn't make sense. It's either half or 1/3, depending on your perspective.
So I learned this in genetics class in high school. It's based off genetic probability of the genes. So XYXX, and then add that by how many potential offspring. It's not a total paradox. Okay.
It's definitely for a mathematical layperson. It's one of those things that'll cook your brain if you continue to think about it.
Yeah. I mean,
it always has mine. I've always been oh no.
Maybe you guys are better at math than us. It's you guys are idiots, but to us at least, it's a paradox.
So this next one is called Javon's paradox. And this is another one that it just kind of bakes your mind when you think, because this one has, philosophical implications. So let's say you sold your old leaky house.
Okay.
And you moved into a new, well-insulated home, all Energy Star appliances, smart thermostat, the whole nine, right? With all of the efficiency improvements, your new home requires 30% less energy than your old home. This is kind of like what a lot of people are advocating for. Is we need to make end user applications more efficient so that people are using less gas in their car. That's the behind the whole hybrid thing, which has led to the whole electric car thing, right? And the same thing goes for homes. We're always chasing this efficient use of energy so that a family of people is using less energy. They're burning less fossil fuels, they're burning less coal, they're burning less natural gas in order to achieve the same result.
Correct.
But here's where the paradox comes in. It was discovered in 1865 by a British economist, William Stanley Jevons.
Okay.
By studying the effects of the steam engine innovation made by engineers such as Thomas Newcomen and James Watt, he found that the increase in efficiency that they created actually increased consumption of coal rather than decreasing it, as it became more economical for people to run them. And thus more steam engines were being sold and used by more people. So this, in theory, could also be applied to many modern technologies. Cars, more fuel-efficient cars may result in increased consumption of oil, as they would allow people to travel more often and in faster vehicles and pay less money for it. So the idea that's basically the paradox, is that efficiency actually hurts when you look at it from the perspective of trying to reduce efficiency. It actually hurts your goal of bettering the world, because greater efficiency, people don't just consume at the same rate. So if you have a very inefficient house, you probably sat there and shivered a whole lot because it was wasting money to turn on the heater because there was no seals around the windows and shit. You move into a place where you can turn the heater on, you're just going to leave it the fuck on. You've been living, because it's cheap now. It's way cheaper than it was when you were living in the rickety old shack. You turn on that. So now you're using twice the amount of heat.
Well, I mean, another thing too is we obviously have more and more people utilizing these technologies. So, of course, with energy consumption, you have more people, even if it's more efficient, but more people using it, then overall usage is going to go up.
Yeah,
and obviously the dependency on that as well. I mean, like, even if you have a hybrid, because I had a hybrid for a couple of years, I recently just got rid of it. But I'll tell you what, like, you almost do end up driving more because you're like, well, gas is so cheap to me, or it's like I have such a fuel efficient vehicle. But I drove a lot when I had that because I didn't really think about it the same way. Whereas like someone who has a super fuel inefficient vehicle might go, oh fuck, well, I only get 15 miles to the gallon. I might want to drive as far or go as fast or whatever.
Right.
So this one kind of makes
you're going to be able to
to
afford to do 2 trips instead of 1, or 10 trips instead of 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was getting like 38 miles a gallon, so it's like, it's crazy.
Time is cyclical. Electricity is the soul. Where infinitely many creatures experience infinitely many lives as a hive mind through death and life. Whoa, buddy.
Bro.
Whoa, buddy.
Shit, bro.
So this is one of the ones that I actually learned from Amelia, but that I didn't realize that this has been talked about by Derek Jensen, who's one of my favorite philosophers and radical environmentalist. One of his big conclusions that he argues for, that he and I both get in trouble for, is that like cities are completely inherently unsustainable because they require the importation of resources in order to function, and that's a huge component of this.
They're not self-sustaining,
right? So you can when you streamline something, this idea like, oh, we're going to make the most energy efficient shit, that's just going to create more people that use more energy because it's more freely available. It's cheaper for them to buy it. There's more in reserve because they weren't, you know what I mean? It just creates an ongoing need for more and more energy, even when the whole point of chasing efficiency is to reduce our reliance on these energies.
Well, remember, states like California and other states like the greener states, like, we're going to generate green energy, are still hitting record demand every year. Like every year, it's another record. It's another record because people are using more energy. So ultimately, you're right. If it can be more efficient, So maybe in some degrees, there's less pollution, but if people overall use more, it's like unless you actually have like a non-destructive energy source, like a non-hydrocarbon, basically, it's not going to make a difference.
Right. So that's Jevons paradox. Let's take a look at the Raven paradox.
All ravens are black.
You might also have heard about this one as Hempel's paradox for the German logician who proposed it in the mid 1940s. This one is fucking fucked up.
Okay.
Because it's one of those things that's just like, man, why did you have to think up this fucking question with no answer? Okay. So the Raven paradox begins with the apparently straightforward and entirely true statements that all ravens are black. Ravens are black. This is matched by the logically contrapositive, i.e. negative and contradictory statement that everything that is not black is not a raven, which, despite seeming like a fairly unnecessary point to make, is also true, given that we know that all ravens are black.
Right.
Hempel argues that whenever we see a black raven, this provides evidence to support the first statement, but by extension, whenever we see anything that is not black, like an apple, this too must be taken as evidence supporting the second statement. After all, an apple is not black, and nor is it a raven.
Right.
So these are two logically inconsistent statements that both have to be true, but they can't both be true. Only one of them can be true, as we understand logically. Either all ravens are black, or all things, anything not black is not a raven.
Though to me, I don't know. Maybe there could be a genetic mutation that there's a raven that's not black. How about that?
I mean, sure. Yeah. I mean, this is from a philosophical standpoint. Once again, assuming, no depart, because I'm sure that there are such things as like albino ravens, and that are not black. But
this always gets me, dude, when you have fans where it's like, it's like this statement is true and this statement is true, but they both can't be true. So which one is true? Or, I mean, obviously that doesn't cancel each other out, but I just think it's an interesting exercise in logic more than anything with this one. Obviously that's what the guy's profession was. I guess he spent all day thinking up shit like this to fuck with people. It's like, well, I mean, everything's
the more this one, the more you think about it, the more it starts to cook your noodle, because that second statement sounds so unnecessary. It's just like but if it's true, it's incredibly significant, but it can't be true because the first one is true. All ravens are black. Anything that's not black is not a raven. It's like, whoa, but that can't be true.
Oh fuck, dude! I don't know, man. I don't get these paradoxes, dude. They just fuck with me.
How about the potato paradox, Scotty?
It's a potato paradox?
Yep. This is a good one. Imagine a farmer has a sack containing 100 pounds of potatoes, right?
Okay.
The potatoes he discovers are comprised of 99% water and 1% solid. So he leaves them in the heat of the sun for a day to let the amount of water in them reduce to 98%.
Okay.
But when he returns to them the day after, he finds his 100-pound sack now weighs just 50 pounds. How can this be true? Well, if 99% of 100 pounds of potatoes is water, then the water must weigh 99 pounds.
Right.
The 1% of solids must ultimately weigh just 1 pound, given a ratio of solids to liquids of 1 to 99. But the potatoes are allowed to dehydrate to 98% water. The solids must now account for 2% of the weight, a ratio of 2 to 98, or 1 in 49 reduced. Even though the solids must still only weigh 1 pound. The water ultimately must now weigh 49 pounds, giving a total weight of 50 pounds, despite just a 1% reduction in water content. Or must it? You can go back and forth with this question all fucking day long and never figure out why it doesn't make sense.
Although I want to hire some of these people in this chat to just figure out every paradox, because every one I've seen is like, that's not a paradox. It's not a paradox. It's like, okay, then fucking explain it to me, bro. Yeah, I've seen this. There was like when I was a kid, there was like a math thing like this, where it's like it was a guy went to a hotel and he gave X amount of people like money. People probably heard this shit too, but it's like you could never add up to the original amount, and it
Right.
seems like one of those problems. You can never get back to the original sum no matter what you do, but it's like obviously in it you have to make the assumption that the weight dropped down to 50%. So if it drops down to 50%. And the other part and the solid part remains consistent, then how is this possible? Like, how can you possibly get to that weight and still be the same level? And to be honest, I have no fucking clue. I have no fucking idea how you would do that. If you only change the fucking makeup of it by 1% to 2%, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, we need to get Neil deGrasse Tyson to answer some of these questions. I agree.
Dude, because I'm fucking useless on that. I'm like, I don't know, dude. I have no fucking idea.
We won't spend too much time on this one because it's basically the Achilles paradox in reverse. Imagine that you're about to set off walking down the street. To reach the other end, you have to walk halfway there. Then to walk halfway there, you'd have to walk a quarter away there. And to walk a quarter away there, you have to walk an eighth away there. And blah, 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 blah. It just ultimately says you never reach a destination. And once again, it's the same thing. It's whoever said it earlier is right. Setting the end point as the point of reference changes this completely. Setting the you as the point of reference is the problem in this.
Yeah, because it's infinite.
But you should be able. You would think those things would be equal. Like even if you use you as a point of reference, you eventually get to the tree. But for some reason, you can't do that when you're talking about distances. It just logically does not follow, and that's that's why it's a paradox.
Makes sense.
So this next one is kind of interesting to me. It's called decision. All of these fall under what's called decision theory.
Okay.
And this is a kind of a philosophical and scientific pursuit where they're looking at how people make decisions, and they found a lot of paradoxes that when it comes to people and how they make decisions in studying this. So think about this. People can make decisions based not on what they actually want to do. We're talking about a group going out here, right? So
sure,
people can make decisions based on not what they actually want to do, but on what they think other people want to do, which makes a possible result that everybody decides to do something that nobody really wants to do.
Okay.
But only what they thought everybody else wanted to do. So this clearly happens a lot in these group dynamics. You get 4 more passive people, or a person that's just not feeling very decisive that night or doesn't want to make waves. Everybody's been in this type of position and knows that, hey, I've gone along. I've said, oh yeah, let's go to the movies because I just knew that I in my mind, I thought that's what everybody wants to.
I'll tell you the big one with a lot of families and couples and shit is like, they're going to go eat somewhere, right? Where do you want to go eat?
Right.
I don't know.
And so like the idea is like we're all familiar with being in that position, but what we're not thinking about usually is that everybody else in the group is facing that same conundrum. And what if you all end up going out more often than not, or maybe all the time because of this, to somewhere where you don't really want it. Nobody really wants to go. It's just what everybody thinks everybody wants to go. You know what I mean? It's like it removes your agency in like these public decisions of what to do with your time, where you and 3 people are hanging out for the day.
How does the sheep? I don't know. Sometimes they go in circles. Usually the sheep that's ahead of them. So you have initial judgment of willingness, trustworthiness, so intuition, high motivation. Then of course
this I mean, this is like one of the models that they can. I just wanted a picture of something that was in decision theory, but this is like one of the models that they've made.
But then obviously
explain the process.
I guess it always ends up going back. So if you undervalue it, I don't know about that. If you overvalue it, it's like what evidence do you have? Then we end up going back to the same point.
Right.
Oh damn, dude.
So yeah, I mean, this might happen more often than not. You all end up doing some shit that you would rather not be doing because you are all under the misapprehension that other people want to do this and you don't want to make waves. I don't want to be the person that holds everybody back. So yeah, let's go to the beach. Maybe nobody wanted to go to the fucking beach. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like
dude, that happens so often. Like no one wants to go somewhere, but then you all end up settling for that thing just simply because of like the fact that you're like, well, I want everyone to be happy. Yeah, I mean, I think this comes down to more the irrational nature of people, and obviously, group dynamics, social dynamics, where it's like, sometimes you like, well, I got to get along to actually make something happen. Because I mean, you've probably noticed this in social studies. Like, what if you have someone's really obstinate, right? Someone's super obstinate, then nothing happens, and it's like, oh, well, then there's animosity towards that person because they didn't want to go along with what was happening.
Right.
So I mean, like, I could see why this would happen, because eventually, if everyone, it's like, even if it's just a compromise over compromise over compromise over compromise, there was some sort of agreement or lack of disagreement is sometimes enough.
Which doesn't make any, it doesn't make sense. But it's necessarily true, but it doesn't make sense that it's true, because we all have a very singular, egocentric way of looking at the planet to a certain extent. And
sure.
How many times do we fail to understand? Here's another one. Oops, this is not it. Oh, I guess I didn't pull any pictures for these, but these are just quick. So another paradox that they've discovered in decision theory is the belief that people generally disapprove of the United States Congress as an entire body,
right?
But also generally support the congressperson from their own district.
Yeah, they voted for them.
Right. So it's like a self-defeating thing, though. It doesn't make any sense. They hate the Congress and think it's do nothing. But one of the reasons that it's allowed to function is they all support the congressman from their district and get them elected.
Well, of course. And the funny thing is, too, it's like saying, like, my car's a piece of shit, but I really like the engine in my car. The engine's good, but everything else in my car I hate. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the interior. It smells bad, but that part of it is good.
Right.
I think it's that for some people, the sum of the parts are not the whole. So they they don't look at it as a whole. They look at it as the individual person representing them is okay, but it's the other people. It's the other things that are. But obviously, like you said, but they still represent the whole body of politics, which most people, if you ask them about politics, like, Congress's approval rating is usually around 9 to 10%. It's basically like most people are not approving of a dysfunctional Congress.
Yeah. So this is all based on a paradox that appears in polling data. It's like one of those human things. It doesn't make sense why they wouldn't reconcile these two things. And one of the things I think that I've done in some respects is, like, in my philosophy, I reconcile these two things. I'm just like, well, the Congress sucks because people keep putting shitty corporate fucks there on the thin basis that, like, oh, at least they're a Democrat, they're going to protect my rights, or at least they're a Republican, they're going to advocate for the reduction in the size of government that I want. So, the lesser, they get caught in the lesser of two evils trap. And so they end up simultaneously hating Congress by the poll numbers, but supporting all of the because, like, if that's happening in every district, everybody hates Congress but believes in their congressperson. It's self-defeating by necessity.
Oh, this NIMBY thing, that happens in a lot of rich areas. The not in my backyard people, like, we need affordable housing, but not here and not this project. It's like, you'll have stuff like that, dude. That definitely happens, where people will, of course, they'll endorse certain ideas. I mean, even say they're in favor of them, but when it actually affects them, they suddenly are against them, because it's not I don't want to help, but this is the wrong idea. This is the wrong, demonstration of it.
Here's another. This is the last one I've got. So this is just a weird one. Once again, let's see if you can make any hay with it. Should one tolerate intolerance if intolerance would destroy the possibility of tolerance?
Oh, shit. This is an argument you actually hear quite a bit, is that, we can't be, if we're tolerant of intolerant people, then it leads to too much intolerance. Then ultimately intolerance wins, and then there'll be no tolerance for anything else, right?
Right. So at the extremes, this is the idea of testing a strictly tolerant philosophy, basically. It doesn't really make sense if you look at it from that way. If you say that tolerance is 100%, we should be tolerant, which I do, I think we should be more tolerant. So that puts me in this logical loop of, like, I'm probably tolerant as a result of that belief that we should be tolerant of people who are intolerant. In fact, I know I am. A lot of members of my family are intolerant, but I still see them and support them and love them and care for them and help take care of them and all of that stuff. So ultimately, it's a million little decisions like that destroy the possibility of tolerance. Right?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think that's what happens with any extreme, though. I mean, if everything becomes, like, too extreme, like, you tolerate extremism long enough, then it won't even be tolerance for you because they'll be in charge, and then tolerance will just fly out the window anyways, and they're definitely not going to be tolerant.
Right.
But it's interesting enough, where it's like, because obviously if you consider that, like, they want your tolerance, they want you to tolerate whatever crazy idea they have. You let them try to form or spread their ideas to more people, and then intolerance gets to reign. So I mean, I think probably looking at that, I think at a certain point you have to be intolerant of some ideas.
Right.
I mean, for society to function.
And the line is eternally fuzzy too. You're not going to be able to say in a grand perspective that this idea and that this group of ideas is 100% something that we should be intolerant. It just goes to show you that you're not dealing with, strict mathematical numbers. You're dealing with human beings who oftentimes don't make much sense. And I think that's what's reflective of those last couple of paradoxes. But yep, that's what I got for you tonight. Thank you to everybody who watched, and those of you that donated, thank you for that as well. And what do you know if next week is a public or a private Onion Nuggets?
I think it's
next Wednesday. Sorry,
next Wednesday, I believe, is going to be a private. I think this one's public coming up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
So this week is going to be public. Next week is going to be private.
Right. Got it. Okay. So public Onion Nuggets. I think it's me and TJ as well, because you and TJ switched, didn't you?
I have no idea.
Yeah, you guys traded, I think, last week. And
well,
so
I don't know if TJ sees it that way.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well,
so it'll either be me and TJ or me and Scotty. I'm the only constant there. See, once again, it's another fucking paradox, man. It'll be, is it going to be
paradox.
Paul and TJ or Paul and Scotty? Well, seems like a 50-50 to me.
You'll have to show up.
Yep.
Of course, this goes without saying. I mean, like I'm sure as a patron, join the Patreon, idiots.
Yes, become a patron. Go do it now. Don't be.
What are you doing? Go ahead, go do it. We'll wait. No, not really. We're not going to wait, but go do it.